Bedtime Blues may not be the most exciting title for a game, that is for certain. If you hadn't seen anything beside hearing the name, you may be forgiven for thinking it's a shovelware game of the childish kind. But no, it's a horror game, and one with gameplay that may be very familiar to you. I'm Jordan from SwitchWatch, and we're going to see if Bedtime Blues is worth keeping you up at night. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new here to keep up to date with all the latest greatest Nintendo Switch content. It's well worth it, guys. The story is told from the point of view of a child with a wild imagination, or one trying to run from a nightmare come true. That's for you to decide or find out. As the child has recently turned 5 years old, he's been handed down a teddy bear, but this teddy bear is holding a grudge and is feeling murderous. Can you survive the night? The game's inspiration is very clear to see. If you've played the Five Nights at Freddy's games, then this is of the same DNA. It's a survival horror management simulator where you have to survive the night by constantly keeping on top of things. The game is spread across various chapters, each of which are considered an hour in-game time, as your character attempts to survive until the dawn. Each chapter is also split into two gameplay portions. Initially, you are out of the bed, able to walk around the very small bedroom, and are asked to pick up clues. This is honestly meaningless in my opinion. It's supposed to help tell a story, but in fact it's more of a breather before the game really starts because there's literally nothing to it. You pick something up and then head to bed to start the real portion of the game. I suppose I like the ever-evolving room between the chapters, which you can take a good look at how things have changed because the room gets more and more creepy as time goes on. The main part of the game is initiated when you walk over to the bed to sleep, but sleep isn't really happening. Instead, sitting on the bed, looking around from a locked position, you have to try your best to get to sleep while fending off attacks. You have a sleep meter which you have to build up by holding the B button down, which will close your character's eyes and then achingly increase it. You will complete a chapter once the meter is filled. It's not that simple, of course. You won't be able to sleep while the evil teddy bears are sneaking up on you. Well, you can try, but you will fail and get murdered horrendously. I'm not entirely sure if it's supposed to be one teddy bear coming in from various points or multiple evil bears, but either way, they will try and sneak up on you from a few different points. The beginning will see one from the window and one from the door, while the following stages will introduce one that appears on the opposite bed and then one that appears under yours. Finally, there will be a TV that switches on, which will indicate another threat. After that, the chapters become more focused on ramping up their tenacity rather than introducing new ones. There are a couple of ways to negate their encroachments, but mostly you'll be using your flashlight to scare them away. If one appears, then use your torch to dazzle them for a few seconds and then they'll soon retreat. Just like every flashlight in every horror game, however, its power is finite to a ridiculous degree. It will only last a few seconds of continuous usage before sapping the battery completely. Thankfully, you can recharge it at any point by spamming the Y button. And you will need to do this constantly after scaring one away to keep on top of things. Not only that, but for some reason you have two flashlights, one for above the bed and one below, for which you need to recharge both separately. When there's downtime, that's your chance to get some sleep, for which you'll need to hold the B button down. Now obviously you can't see anything, so sound is very important. Each different threat has their own very distinct sound, so you'll easily know which one is coming for you. When you hear them, it's time to stop sleeping and act. It's really a big giant juggling performance, spinning 5 plates at once, rubbing your belly and patting your head. However you want to say it, it's super simple in its gameplay. You scare the teddies away, recharge your flashlight, and try to inch up your sleep meter. Rinse and repeat. I found it to be a fair challenge. I think I only ever completed one chapter on my first try, and many required multiple attempts. I'm not gonna lie, it was devastating reaching 3/4 of the way through the hour before getting caught, usually by the teddy on the opposite bed. Likewise, I felt a great sense of exhilaration upon completing each chapter. I genuinely felt like I'd survived something. Despite that, it's not a scary game. There's some creepy audio that's played far too often, so loses any impact after the first couple of times you've heard them. The teddies themselves aren't particularly scary either, since they're so predictable, in at least the sense of where they're coming from, if not the timing. I did jump a couple of times when I unexpectedly got caught out by a teddy when I thought I was safe. Call me a pessimist, but I went into Bedtime Blues expecting the worst. The publisher didn't have the best horror track record on the Switch, and the name alone implanted images of something extra shovelware-like. So in that regard, I've been pleasantly surprised by Bedtime Blues. It's competent if very unremarkable, and I can't say a whole lot of negative things about it. On the other hand, positives are also in short supply. It's serviceable, and if you like these kind of games such as Five Nights at Freddy's, you might enjoy this one too, even though its presentation and intrigue aren't up to those standards. I should mention that the main story mode will last you about 2 hours or more, depending on how good you are juggling the threats and how the randomized timing of them treats you. If you're unlucky, everything will come at you at once and you're going to be pushed to your limits. There is an endless mode, which is what you would expect. You survive as long as you can, and every second gives you a point to your score. I didn't find any personal need to do this, as it was always the goal of surviving that drove me on to play. For me, in a horror game such as this, the audio needs to be on point. It needs to be atmospheric, build up tension, and create a sense of terrifying panic when you least expect it. Does Bedtime Blues succeed in this department? Well, not really. As stated in the gameplay section, sound plays a vital importance in knowing which threat is coming from where. In this regard, musical tracks are thin on the ground with mostly ambient and environmental noises, as so not to interfere with the sound cues of the teddy bears. So it's disappointing in that aspect, but I guess it can't be helped. For the visuals, we have something very, very distinct. They've gone for 3D, but highly pixelated. I'm not entirely sure of the developer's thought process here, but it's a daring choice for sure. Does it work? No, I don't think it does. It's overly distracting and comes across as an attempt to cover up what would be meager environments without it. I think it distracts from the horror feeling too, because you're so busy trying to discern what is what in the blurred mess, that you forget about the game trying to scare you. It would stand out less, but if they'd gone for a standard look, I think it would have been better off. Another problem I have is with the animations of the teddy bear that come towards you. They are static and have no animation. Considering they have 2 stages of going towards you, they warp to their second position, which just screams cheapness to me. I would have preferred it if the teddy bears were fully animated as they march towards you from their different positions. Sadly not, so it does come across as a little bit cheap. Which goes nicely into the value section. Bedtime Blues is priced at $9.99 on the American eShop and £8.99 in the UK. That is a low price compared to the average game on the eShop these days, I feel, but is it worth it? It's not so easy to say. What we have is a competent, if unexceptional, survival management game. I think if you like these type of games, then it's not bad. You get decent value for your money. If it was priced any higher, then I would have been a little bit more concerned. If you're not into these or are expecting a proper horror game, then I would say it's not worth the cash for you. Maybe wait for a sale. Before we get into my final thoughts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all the latest Nintendo Switch reviews and features. You won't regret it, guys, I promise. So, onto my final thoughts. Bedtime Blues is a peculiar game for sure. I don't think there are many games currently like this one on the Switch, and if you're looking for a horror survival management game, it's not a bad option in bereft of any competition. It lacks personality and professional polish that could have led me to being more positive about it, but its flaws are few and its price is inoffensive. Maybe I'm feeling on the more generous side today because I can see its heart is in the right place. For me, I'd say it's a 6 out of 10. It's not bad. If you want to see a horror game that is bad, then check out my review of Hollow from last year. Now that was pap. I'll see you guys over there. Take care.